Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is Isa Sanchez. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. It's such a pleasure to have you here with me today. So I want to kick this all off with just having you talk a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself to our audience and let them know a little bit about your background and experience.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Isa Sanchez. Isa is short for Isabella. I'm first and foremost a DC public school teacher and an education advocate. I did not grow up in DC, but I moved here in 2015, and I've been living in Ward 1 ever since then. And although I didn't grow up here, I found through teaching that my experiences growing up are very similar to so many of the experiences of our students in Ward 1. I grew up in a bilingual household. I'm an immigrant, and in school, I was an English language learner, which now we use the term emergent bilingual. So if elected, I'd actually be your first Latina representative on the state board. And I'm also the first acting DC teacher to run for election on the state board.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is really impressive. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Isa. It is great to be able to have this chat with you. So tell me, what was it about this election cycle or, just this time that you wanted to throw your hat into the ring? What was it that really made you want to represent the people and education in this way?
So many people actually don't know too much about the State Board of Education or what it can and cannot do. So it's not the DC education government agency that has the most power to make policy, right? But it is the one that is in a really unique position to listen to and elevate the voices, especially of the people that don't often get heard or don't often have a voice. And I've seen it do this in the past few years. So that's what first attracted me to it, because as a teacher, every teacher is an advocate for their students. But in addition to that, I've spent the large part of the last 4 years advocating for our students, our families, and our teachers outside of the school building. And, part of that work is just building really deep roots in your community. And that's what I've done as an advocate. And what the state board would allow me to do is to, have a better base to do that from, a better platform to seek out equity of voice, to really listen to the underrepresented voices of Ward 1 and to elevate what is it that matters to Ward 1 residents? What do Ward 1 residents have to say that they need in our education system that they don't currently have? So you also asked me why now, right? And, now more than ever, it comes as no surprise to no one, but we need leaders on the state board that have had recent classroom experience and that have taught during this really, really challenging time for our community. The pandemic brought on really unique challenges and, I've experienced them. I've been a teacher. I talk to families, I talk to students. And through my advocacy work, it's just been very clear that we need someone who has that context and that understanding.
Certainly, certainly. Well, talk to me about some of these challenges that you're very concerned about, especially some of those unique ones that the pandemic may have brought about that you'd really, really love to tackle if elected to this role.
So the top priority is COVID recovery. And I don't mean recovering from getting COVID, but recovering from everything that this pandemic has put on our schools. And, Ward 1 has unique challenges, and therefore the solutions for our school communities need to be unique to Ward 1. So Ward 1 has the highest population of undocumented immigrants in the district. It's also home to Columbia Heights, a really wonderful, vibrant community, but that was hardest hit by COVID. It has had and consistently had the highest number of COVID rates in DC. We also have the highest child poverty rate in the district, and I can only imagine how that number has been affected by the pandemic. So this puts us in a place where schools need additional funding. They need to think creatively. They need to provide students with school-based mental health services, because as I've seen as a teacher, and as any family and teacher will tell you, the pandemic had a really adverse effect on the mental health of our kids and of our families and of our teachers. And, when we're thinking about COVID recovery, we have to think about the people in the building, the teachers that are teaching the kids. And, DC has had for a very long time a higher than average teacher turnover rate. So 1 out of every 4 teachers leaves their school every year. And in schools that serve primarily at-risk students, so the kids that need the most stability, that's where we see the most turnover. And, I know that the pandemic is going to affect this adversely. I mean, we've heard from the community. I know anecdotally from teachers I know that have left mid-year that we might be seeing a really big increase in teachers leaving the classroom. And so we need to tackle that, and we need long-term solutions to make sure that our teachers stay and that they don't burn out. So that's top priority. But those are all challenges. Ward 1 is actually unique in all the opportunities that it has.
I love that.
We do. We're a really interesting community because we have nearly half of all the DCPS dual language schools in the district.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, but we're rich in our dual language schools.
Yeah.
We also have nearly half of the adult education charter schools, which serve primarily immigrant populations, and that serve a very important role in our community.
Wow.
And we're also the district, or the ward, with the highest population of English learners or emergent bilinguals. So this creates a huge opportunity to create more robust programs to support them. And what I've heard from school leaders and from families is that they need more funding. They need more professional development and training, and they need just more support all around, because they've historically been overlooked and underfunded. And, lastly, I believe that every kid should be able to, walk 5 minutes to their nearest neighborhood school and have the best and most fulfilling education possible. And those are our neighborhood schools, right? But Ward 1 loses so many of its students when they transition from elementary school to middle school. And, when you lose students, you lose funding. And when you lose funding, you lose the ability to provide every student with what they need. So it's like this chicken and this egg problem. So we really need to make sure that we're fully funding our neighborhood schools, and that we're supporting them so that they can be, the schools that every single Ward 1 parent wants to send their Ward 1 kid to.
Certainly. Thanks so much for sharing, Isa. Let our audience know why you are the best choice for voters come this election day.
Yes. Well, first of all, like I said earlier, I'm a teacher, and I've been a teacher pre-pandemic and during the pandemic. I've taught in DCPS schools for 6 years now. And importantly, I've been living in Ward 1 since I moved to DC in 2015. So I understand the unique challenges that our families and our schools are facing. I'm also an experienced advocate for our kids, our families, and our teachers. And I do this in the school building and outside of the school building. As I mentioned earlier, my interest in advocacy is rooted in just knowing that the people have the solutions, right? We just need to be able to reach out to them and tap into all of the voices that don't often get heard, so we can actually find solutions that are equitable and that will bring our students what they need. And, this is what I've done. For example, I'm part of a group called Empower Ed, which is a group of teacher advocates from charter schools and from DC public schools. And one of the campaigns that I led was to bring just attention to the huge gap between Latinx students in Ward 1 and Latinx teachers. So like I said, Ward 1 has a huge Latinx population, but we only have like 58% of our students identify as Latinx, but only 15% of our teachers identify as
Teachers.
that.
Oh, wow.
The
Wow.
disparities are huge. And, I
Yeah.
taught at a school where that disparity was really stark. I was
Mhm.
like one of three teachers who were Latino, and the majority of the student population was Latinx. So, these disparities affect our kids both because they need, people to look up to, but also people that understand where they're coming from. And
Certainly.
advocacy is really important, but it has to lead to results. And through Empower Ed and through grassroots organizing, I co-led the effort that secured over $1 million in the DC budget to invest in a pilot program to sustain and diversify our teacher workforce. So that is to create like a pipeline where we have DC paraprofessionals and DC high school students on track to obtain their teacher licensure.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I hope our viewers are keeping those things in mind. And another thing they should keep in mind is the deadlines for voting and all of that. So, Isa, could you let everyone know when voting begins in DC for the school Board of Education?
Yes, so this is a nonpartisan race. So we do not participate in the primaries. But definitely make sure that you're registered to vote. You can go to the district's DCBOE.org to make sure that even if you're not sure if you're registered, you can double check. But you can vote for me on this year's general election day, which is Tuesday, November 8th. So vote Isa Sanchez for member of the DC State Board of Education for Ward 1.
Awesome. And to our viewers, you can go to headcount.org to check your voter registration status, pledge to vote, and register to vote. Once again, you can go to headcount.org to check your status, pledge to vote, and register to vote. Now, Isa, how can people find out more about you, find out more about your campaign, keep up to date with everything that's going on, donate, support, or volunteer? How can they do that?
I love this question. We're a newly formed campaign, so we don't have a website yet, but it's coming very soon. It should come in the next 2 weeks. In the meantime, as you can see on the screen, you can go to my Linktree, which has multiple links to things like more information about me and my priorities and why you should vote for me. You can also find links to donate or contribute to the campaign. I am participating in the Fair Elections program, which means donations are capped at $20, but the district will match that and multiply it by 5. Sorry, they will match it. And you can also sign up to volunteer there if you feel so inclined to right now. As you can see, we also have a Twitter where we will make our website announcement. And there's a link. Yeah, if you sign up with your email, feel free to send me any questions. I think the part of the campaign that I'm most excited for is when we're going to start knocking on doors and talking to residents and, really defining those priorities even further, right? Those are the ones that I've heard up to now. But as I talk to the residents of Ward 1, that's what really will inform what my priorities would be if elected to the state board.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're going to have those links in the description below. So viewers, you can go ahead and click on it and continue to learn everything about Isa Sanchez and the campaign. So you can donate, you can support, and you can keep up to date with everything about the campaign. So once again, those links will be in the description. Isa, final thoughts. I'm glad that you're here with us today. And what are your hopes if elected to this role? Looking forward to that. What are your hopes for that?
My hopes are that we can actually use what we've learned from this pandemic to reimagine the way that we think about our public schools, because for so long we've been doing the same things over and over again in different cycles, and they're not.
Yeah.
And there's an urgency for our kids. Like, they deserve the best right now. So, part of the role that I'm most excited about is listening to how we can get more creative to retain our teachers, to make sure that schools work for our English learners, our bilingual students, our students with in IEPs. And I think listening to everyone's voice and building coalitions and really bringing students into the conversation is what is ultimately going to get us there.
Certainly. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure to get to chat with you, and I wish you the best of luck on your campaign.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Those watching, please follow Team Racine Productions at Team Racine on all forms of social media. And of course, please like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But most of all, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.